Welcome back. This is the SMG Blacklist podcast, brought to you by the Southgate Media Group, Season 3, Episode 6, Crispin Crandall, number 86 on the list. I'm Jack Groski, number 23 on the Blacklist, and with me is...
Melissa Maxey, number 13.
We're here to talk about Episode 6, and you have a good intro for us, don't you?
What do you get when you have frozen geniuses, blacklisters in the atmosphere, Fight Club, and culinary money? That's right, Episode 6.
Awesome. All right. So in the last episode, there was a huge bounty, like worldwide for Liz, and there was no hint of that at all. Did you notice that?
Yeah, they were all over the place in this episode.
Yeah, there was no leftovers. There was no tie-in. I guess like a filler episode, it started 4 different storylines, and I think it only finished maybe 1 or 2 of them.
It was almost like they had some leftover stuff in the writer's room, and they're like, hey, let's put all these 4 together. See what we can come up with.
It was like a Blacklist soup this week.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is supposed to be about Sir Crispin Crandall, right? But first off, we just found out about him, and we talked about this, more than a couple times. The Blacklist has become this thing where I guess you can add things at will, and then they just kind of add a number, because we just found out about Crispin Crandall and this arc he's building 2 by 2 and collecting these people. But I really felt that the episode was about Andres Halmy, who was the director's senior advisor from the Cabal. And
yes, because he was captured.
He was captured, and Red wanted to get to him to get to the director. He knew that he was a key to something. We'll talk about that on the list. But to me, he seemed like the one that should have been on the Blacklist and didn't even get a number.
Well, and I think they had Crispin Crandall because it was like a means to an end, right?
Well, he was on the plane, yes, but I felt like he should have...
was also very instrumental for Reddington to get what he wanted.
That's true, and we couldn't really react with Halmy because he was literally frozen. Not like Star Wars in the Carbonite. They froze. Right. They cryogenically froze his body, and he wasn't even part of the Crispin's master plan. I think
he wasn't. He was just like
he was one of these
just like genius that he picked up as part of his 2x2 arc series.
No, I get the feeling, I don't know that, I got the feeling that he wasn't part of that Halmy was actually one of the people that wanted to get cryogenically frozen, because they're the people that actually paid to be on the plane, freeze, and for whatever reason, whatever disease they had or wanted to live way up into the future. So these people actually paid Crispin to be on that plane. And that was the confusing thing, because there were really 2 groups. There were the scientists who apparently, this arc that they were building, the brightest scientific minds in the world, and they were all going to be rejuvenated and create this utopia. Of course, the first thing you see is of it, they're drilling into some guy's head, and there's this Steve Hawkins guy. He's in the wheelchair, and he can't really talk without the translator, and can't control his body, but of course he's that brilliant mind. And
right.
Crispin's just talking to him, and you see this human figure in the operating room, and there's this brain sticking out with the bone and the hair cut away, and the guy's got a drill. Now, I'm no expert, but I don't think they use drills into the brain part. I think once you've gone into the skull, the drill goes away.
Well, technical difficulties.
Technical difficulties? This is like something you open up a skull with, or
series. It's not ER.
I know, but it was this
Grey's Anatomy.
It's become the X-Files. It's become this science fiction, like universe. How many times have we had this master plan by these guys? This is the 3rd Utopia type character that we've had. And these like catastrophic world events, like the corn thing.
More of like Fringe than it does X-Files.
Well, it's funny. I've heard people talking about the Fringe, but I kind of see the X-Files that sci-fi kind of thing to it too. But no, it's definitely this, catastrophic event, Fringe, X-Files, world things that will affect the globe. And
Right.
I don't know, it seems kind of out of character. One of the things I did hear, though, is they've done this so much. Does that mean that in the Blacklist that they're going to have such an event where something big does affect the world? And
it's possible. I mean, they've been leading up to something like that. I mean, it would be a great story.
Yeah, I don't know. It's somebody brought it up. I don't know. When they mentioned it, it said, there is a pattern, but I don't see that working in this this realm.
They haven't really touched on the cabal's, conspiracy theory about what they're planning. Are they planning? I mean, they've talked about some worldwide event, so maybe they are leading up to something like that.
I heard this actually on the radio in a totally different context because somebody was talking about a cabal. And they were looking up the definition of a cabal, and it's a secret group to take with the intent of taking down governments. And when they said this like world event thing, I don't think it's going to be like a disease or the crop failure thing like they kind of got into with the corn. I think when the X-Files, right? And that's where I kind of got that from, is the whole cornfields and the bees and the whole pollination thing. But it really does point to the cabal. Their end game isn't to get to Red. Their end game is to become this controlling force in the world. And that, I think, is going to be the big event. I don't think it's going to be a catastrophe. I think it's going to be something that triggers this political takeover.
Well, they already have key people in key places all over the globe. So, I mean, we've already witnessed that with the government that we have, or, with FBI stuff.
Right.
Not really with government, but just, policing bodies within the United States.
But without that kind of thing, how do you force people to change? How do you force people to follow the cabal unless they have the secret to getting your corn back or something else?
Well, yeah, it would have to be a catastrophe, like some sort of event that puts FEMA, like it's an X-Files, where FEMA's in charge, and it just is like Yellow Brick Road.
That's what I'm saying. I think the X-Files is the underrated thing. We could see Mulder and Scully like come back in this episode to rescue the corn.
The X-Files is coming back January 24th.
That is true, and maybe there's a tie-in. That's all I'm saying.
I'm so excited about this.
All right, so back to the
Blacklist.
Back to the Blacklist, which is what we're supposed to be talking about. So the CIA director is played by David Strathairn, and
yes.
he's got Matthias Solomon. Now he's put him on the chase. He knows that they're heading for Crispin and sending him to find this to get to Halmy before they do.
Yes, and Red is using his team, hence, Aram and Wrestler, to, keep him away from his plans to get to where he needs to be.
Right. And at the same time, I think Solomon is tapping into all this stuff, which I don't think they realize at this point. They're upstairs, they're finding all this stuff out, and they're really kind of getting in the way of all this. So, and then we go to Fight Club.
Oh my gosh, Tom Keene. He's everybody's favorite of this episode. Absolutely. Fight Club scene.
Yeah, I think he spent all this time saying that he really didn't want to kill Asher, but if it happened, so be it, as long as Liz is safe. But I don't think he was very successful at that.
Well, no, and then he ran to their home to warn them that they were going to be killed. So he's like, goes in there and tells them to get ready and shoves the girl out the door, and then it's like, they get captured. Next thing we know, he wakes up and they're both chained together.
Right. So now they're the Fight Club to the death.
And Asher, what is with his sweater? It was kind of weird watching Tom fight a guy in a sweater.
I don't have great fashion sense, so you'll have to tell. I don't remember the sweater.
It was even yellow.
Yeah, who fight? Well, it's not like he got to prepare for this. It was pretty much whatever he was wearing. So,
Well, he could have ripped it off.
That's true. That would have been, man, that would have been like this he had, the beautiful hair and that model look, and he could have, done the little left and right hair shake and ripped it off. Oh, that would have been awesome. That would have been so Harvard.
I like how Tom says, I didn't come here to fight. I came here for the Russian. That was awesome.
And he tells them everything he's going to do. Did you notice that?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that play-by-play.
It was awesome. It, comes a little later, but along the way, he says, look, I'm not here for this. I'm just here for the Russian. And later on, he's, I'll spill the beans now because we've all seen it, hopefully. But he says, I'm going to kill you all. And he does. And they don't listen to him.
Well, because he's got that baby face. They're like, he's crazy. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. He can say what he wants. It's in one ear and out the other. But the thing is he produces it. He
does. I think it's that, I'm Russian and therefore you cannot do that. Defense. I don't think it worked. I think it was awesome. I think we should nominate Tom for character of the episode.
It's like the next Bourne.
He is. So when we get to that next segment, I think it's Tom. What do you think?
I think so.
All right.
I want to talk about Reddington a little bit because I think it was pretty amazing with him in the restaurant when they're drilling through to the bank.
Oh, yeah. Well, we got to get to that.
Comes...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, we got to get to that point first. This whole thing, we see this construction project, and it's super secret and super detailed. And then they have to get this inspector. Were you going to talk about that?
Yeah, the inspector. How?
Oh, that whole thing. He just won't budge.
No, he's just like, this isn't going to work out.
And
Reddington's like, make it happen.
And they can't bribe him. They can't do anything. He is just not having it. So talk to me.
Well, there was a lot of stuff that happened before we get to the part where he drops through the ceiling.
Oh, right. Well, the whole exchange with that is, they can't find this guy. They can't bribe him. He won't budge. The rules are the rules. So they go off and they find, and Red and Liz find his daughter. Or was it just Red by, I think it was the two of them. But they find the daughter, and she talks about this restaurant that she's always wanted. And so Red goes, okay, and I got something to work with. So he goes back to the inspector and says, look, I'm working on a time crunch here. I really need to get this through here. But, and he brings the daughter, and he says, by the way, this is her restaurant. Yeah, and he can't do anything. All her hopes and dreams are right here. All he has to do is approve the work. They do whatever they need to do, and the whole thing is hers. The place is hers. And so he, after all this painful stuff, and they've gone back and forth on this like 2 or 3 scenes, and it finally comes to this, and he relents, and then we discover that this is leading up right to the bank. So how about that part where they just fall through the hole?
Yeah, Reddington comes through the ceiling, and he opens the safety deposit box, pulls it out, and he uses the 2 thumbs that he's clipped off. Is it Harim?
It is Andreas, which is where is him? Andreas is Halmi. Sorry.
Halmi. God, that was, I don't know. It was awesome.
That was, when Red took those thumbs off on the plane, like, what is he doing? And then you start. And
he needed both. Like, normally you would think that he would just need like 1 thumb, like it's like 1 eyeball or 1 thumb.
Yeah, it was kind of, a little bit of, quote, luck that he needed both thumbs. But I guess if you know the banking procedure and all that, maybe you did know. But that was very much like a Bond, like a general spy movie kind of move. Although in Bond, they have this, one of the guys working for the bad guy, he's in the Air Force, and they've implanted this this fake eye that
Right.
is supposedly the general or the president's eye or whatever, and so they've got this Bond basically thumb, and it doesn't even roll like a thumb. It's just completely still frozen. How they got a print off
They're
it?
both frozen. I'm like, how'd they get a print off that?
It was just like rolling two sausages onto a plate. It was awesome.
Frozen sausages.
Frozen sausages. So yeah, that was.
Well, and then the director the whole time is like 2 steps behind. So by the time Reddington does that, he's trying to get into the bank, because he's been warned, and because Reddington call him and said that was at the end, but he's like running into the bank thinking he's gonna save whatever's in the safety deposit box, and he gets in there and opens it up, and it's the 2 thumbs.
Right.
Like, so sorry.
And the whole thing is the director had this whole plan to misdirect Samar and Wrestler, who were headed for this place, and he wound up sending them to, sending them out to Canada, while I guess this was in a totally different location. They and the director even called the bank and said there's going to be 2 people in there that are impersonating Andres Halmy, and stop them. They're going to be doing this. So they never even got to see them. He totally circumvented this thing as if he almost knew that that something from the outside that would happen. It was awesome.
Exactly.
So let's see. What about Red? He got Crispin's story, and they start talking about this utopia and how he's building the Ark, and he's got these, he's got the 2x2 and all this kind of religious, this Noah theme going on, and Red just kind of chuckles about it, but there's really not much more interchange because he shoots Crispin right there and tells him, well, I hope your thing works because you're now going to be one of your own clients. I thought it was an interesting twist, but
I like the shootout in the atmosphere. That was pretty entertaining.
That was
their escape.
Yeah, they really had a whole lot of things going on. Cooper and Tom.
So
Tom, before right after he killed Charlie Vulcans, he's actually, that was Kara Kurt's brother that he shot. I don't know if I caught that really from the show, but
I don't remember catching that either.
Yeah, but that's one of the when I was kind of looking things up.
Okay.
So that was an interesting connection.
So Tom was captured by Charlie Vulcan's men.
Yes, and so when they're before he gets caught up in the Fight Club, he's talking about right after he shoots Vulcan. What are you doing? Now they're going to come after you, and that's what. That's what this is all about. They're going to come after me. I'm going to get to them, and Kara Kurt's going to be right there. And whatever happens, it's for Liz. And, he's always got great motives, but he's not going to be a good guy for Liz. This isn't going to end well. I mean, he's still...
You think they're going to get back to... You think they're going to be together?
I don't think so, because he just keeps killing innocent people. He didn't want to kill... Asher, but he wound up killing him, and rather easily. And as soon as he did, he took out everybody right there. It was like wham, wham, wham. Like they didn't even know what hit him. I mean, why couldn't he have done that before killing Asher? I think that really establishes the fact that Tom isn't on the right side. He's got
Tom's a wild card. He's pretty much just doing his own thing.
He is, and I think
he is doing it on the premises that he wants to save Liz, and that's his ultimate goal, but there's a lot of bodies in the wake.
That's what I'm saying. He's not going to come back and be this, he's not, I don't think they're going to get back together. No matter how much he loves Liz, he's still on that opposite side.
And they may turn it. He may... it might be one of those fatal attraction things, where he's like, he gets to the point where he has to have her, even though that's not going to work out, so he takes her. I mean, that would be an interesting twist.
You know, that would be an interesting twist, because that would give a way for Red to save the day, and would give the opportunity when they're really done with Tom, you know, at that point. And, you know, that could be way, way down the line. I don't see that happening anytime soon. I think they need Tom to be out there and crazy and doing things for Liz.
He's entertaining.
He is, but
I mean, out of all the stuff that happened in the episode, he was the most entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, the scenes with him were fast paced and interesting. The scenes were set up. Yeah, I mean, really. I mean, for all the jumping around they did with Red going back and forth, trying to get everything set up, that was the one segment of the show that flowed from beginning to end.
Yeah, you know, it is. He's the most memorable character. He's the most, like, he moves the most logically. Like, we never know what Liz or Red are going to do next. And even when we kind of know, then Liz might go the other direction, or we always know Tom will tell you in the beginning what he's going to do, who's going to die, and he does it.
You know, and Liz, even in this episode, there wasn't really a lot of interaction with Liz. She was in all the scenes with Red, but there wasn't a lot of speaking lines. You know, there wasn't a lot of interaction. She was just kind of doing what Red said. I mean, even the only interaction we really saw was at the beginning of the episode when she was taking care of Dembe on the plane.
Yeah.
And you know, Red telling her about who they were looking for.
Yeah, and Dembe, who last week was pretty much near death, is now laughing and joking on the airplane.
And not wanting to take his medicine. That's
right. That must be some really good medicine.
Well, Red has access to the best.
He does. And speaking of, he had access, Marvin Gerard comes back. He's the one putting together he was the one putting together the bank project.
Right.
That was, and you know, I've looked at a couple sources. One of the things we didn't talk about, and actually, I haven't heard any of the other podcasts talk about this. Gwen, which was Asher's, did the wedding actually go through, or so his Asher's fiance? I don't think they finished the wedding, but Gwen, they set up this whole character. I felt more for her than I did for Asher. And they set up this almost relationship between her and Tom. And, you know, this, like, she knew, like, she could see through Tom, and she kind of had this innate sense that maybe he was going to get him hurt or killed, because she made him promise, whatever you're doing with him, even before he killed the Russian, before that, you know, make sure you take care of him and nothing happens to him. You know, I don't know who you are or what you do, but it was this really personal interchange. And
yeah, it was.
So
maybe they'll bring her back. I mean, she's not dead.
No. Could she be the one for Tom, maybe, in some weird way? I think she'd be, like, way too betrayed, but there is a betrayal thing. Could she be the next one on the blacklist because she's going all out to get back at Tom?
That's possible too.
Yeah. Because
she seemed like, out of the dynamic, that she was most dominant. I mean, more so than Asher.
Yeah, I mean,
she was the one doing all of the, like, talking with Tom, and I mean, Asher was like, I don't want to do this, and she was the one that was coming forward and saying, you know, asking for help. And
right. Yeah, she was definitely the character that I think we felt the most. I think that makes her a little likely to come back, but maybe not. I don't know. So let's see. The plane, we've already talked about that. Oh,
so Reddington calls.
Oh, the director. Yes.
He says, I think it's about time to exonerate Elizabeth Keene. And he taunts him, you now have no money to escape the inevitable.
Well, not only no money, that he's got all of his money, but those are the funds that he's slowly been stealing from the cabal. And that's huge, because it's not just the golden parachute. It's the proof that Red would need to bring the Cabal on top of his head. You know,
So he declines the offer. He must have a backup plan.
I don't think he does. You know, I really begin to think this guy's kind of an idiot. That it's
I mean,
more.
is he just going to hang out with the FBI and think the FBI is going to save him?
I think that he's going to use Solomon, and that, you know, Super Solomon is going to go in and save the day. You know, and I think they kind of made it known that when Solomon is done with this, I don't think the director gets to live. But
Well, I think Solomon has his own plan.
I think he does, but that plan involves hunting down Liz and killing her and Red. I don't even think he really cares much about Red. I think he needs to get Liz, and that way she dies an American traitor, somebody who shot the Attorney General, has no clout as far as her word or anything about the Cabal. And maybe they'll let the director stay because he's inside the FBI. Maybe he gets to... That's the only chance he gets to stay alive and keep his job. He's in a very powerful position. If they kill him, that's a big kind of pawn they lose. But here's the thing. If Red comes up empty-handed and he doesn't get Liz exonerated, he says, I'll bring this down on you. And he says, your own people will beg me to kill you to stop the bleeding.
Then he hangs up.
Yeah, and that was powerful. They have him by the scruff of the neck, and he doesn't recognize it. It doesn't even register in the director's head that what kind of cards that Red has now on him. It's just,
Yeah.
It's just.
Does that make him an idiot?
You know, I think maybe not an idiot, not in the sense of smarts, but I think it's like an emotional intelligence that he's letting his own ego get in the way. Because nobody goes into that fight where the other person is holding all the cards. You know, just the fact that he's been stealing from the Cabal, that in itself might get the director killed.
Right.
And the only reason Solomon hasn't killed the director now is there's still a chance that they could kill Liz and keep her discredited. Because if she dies while she's on the run, then she can be the scapegoat. She's the terrorist. She's the enemy of America. Yeah, but, you know, there isn't even another out. There's not an outlet where, I've got a way around this. I'll just tell him, you know, this was a special something or other. No, he's like, I've got all your stuff. I'm amassing proof that you stole from your own people, and there's going to be more. And all he has to do is clear Liz's name. Yeah, there's some mix up. The whole thing just goes away, and that's the end of story. And then maybe the Cabal continues to hunt her. I don't know, but he's just not in a good position and can't recognize it. So, you know, and that's where they leave it.
Yeah, that one.
We've got all these storylines, and in the end, we do have Karakurt. You know, we've got to that point.
Reddington has all the cards.
Reddington has all the cards. The director is oblivious to what's about to happen, and I think it was, I don't know, for a show that it seemed like a lot of filler. It
didn't really progress us forward very far, just far enough.
Yeah, and it reestablished the whole Blacklist.
Yeah.
It was kind of all in all, it was a very odd episode. And with all this stuff going on, it didn't really have any focus. But all of a sudden I'm sitting here thinking they tied up a whole lot of stuff. You know, Tom got the Russian. He's got Karakurt.
Yes.
Red has the Cabal in his pocket.
And a neck. Yep.
And a neck. And, you know, really all these things happened, and
we're closer to getting Liz exonerated.
Yeah. You know, I think that's just too big, though. I think that's going to be the season finale. I don't think they're going to exonerate her this early. I think that's got to be the big reveal. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I think we get to the summer and the summer finale, and ta-da! And that's when it happens. Because, man, you'd have to set up a whole new storyline between now and summer, and I just don't see that happening. And you know, this has been so exciting. I think this whole season
we still have half the season left.
That's true, but
at this point,
the way that this is developing, it's really good. It's going to get big. And I think it's going to take the whole second half of the season to get to this point where not only do they have to exonerate her, they have to do it in such a way that she gets back on the team, that Red gets away scot-free again.
Right. I mean, it's a tall order.
It is a tall order. And I think that's...
But Reddington's been working his way. I mean, he's been chipping away to get right back where they were.
And, look where we are at from the beginning of the season. She shot the director fairly early on, and I think we're at about the halfway point. And yes. That's my prediction. For what it's worth, I think it would be way too difficult. You'd have to tie way too many loose ends to do this within the next 3 or 4 episodes.
Right.
So I think we've gotten pretty much the whole thing. We voted Tom as the character of the episode.
Yes.
He's our MVP.
Fight Club.
Mm-hmm. So what do we have coming up next?
So the next episode is called Zalbin Hassan, and he's number 31, and it looks like it's part of Samar's past.
Wow. I'm ready for some...
So that will be... I'm ready for from Samar. Come on.
Yeah, she's got the best wardrobe of anybody in the thing, I think.
Less is more.
That's less is Samar? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Maybe she'll be the MVP next episode.
Oh, I think maybe. We'll see.
All right. Well, that sounds like that wraps it up. This was the SMG Blacklist podcast, brought to you by the Southgate Media Group, where you can find them at www.southgatemediagroup.com, where there's our show and a whole host of other shows and blogs and all sorts of good stuff and sponsors and a little donate link if you really like what we're doing. That keeps us going in the cost of doing business. And, of course, you can find us on iTunes. I'm on Twitter at J1Grosky, and you're at?
I'm at MS Maxey, and the Blacklist Pod is on Twitter. It's Blacklist Pod, and we're on Instagram as The Blacklist Pod. So join us in our conversations. We have quite a following on our Instagram account. We have lots of conversations going on about episodes.
And drop us a line if you can. Well, that's about it. Until next time.
See you then.